What's up, everybody? How you doing? Welcome back to the Punk Rock Review Podcast. We're hanging out tonight. We are talking about a couple of albums that have major anniversaries coming up this summer. And they're just records that are important to us. And what I like to do throughout the year is pick out albums that are hitting these major milestones because it's stuff that is on people's minds. And it gives me an easier choice within, trying to choose a topic to talk about. It gives me a reason to research things. I learned a lot about these records doing this. I really like it. So tonight we're going to talk about Dillinger 4 versus God. Came out 25 years ago. Then we're going to talk about Husker Du New Day Rising, which came out 40 years ago, which is absolutely crazy, which I don't know if you knew this or not, but it came out 40 years ago, like 2 days ago on the 14th, January 14th.
The anniversary? I had no idea.
Yeah, so it literally just hit 40 years 2 days ago from the recording of this video.
It's wild. It's wild to think about. Yeah.
It's very wild, isn't it? Isn't that crazy, man? 40 years that you've been listening to, or 40 years of a record being around that you like that much?
Oh, yeah. I mean...
Yeah, when you were 2, you were like, let's go.
Yeah.
Bob's my favorite.
It's always interesting. I don't know if you've had this experience, like, when you find a band, like, later in life, and you're like, fuck, like, why don't I find this sooner?
Oh, bro, The Clash. I will never stop telling people how much I feel like a dumbass.
Yeah, it's one of those bands that, like, definitely had a big impact. So I'm like, if I would have found this in my 20s, it would. I mean, you find things when you find things.
Okay, so I know we're going to talk about Dillinger 4 first as far as an album.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, when did you start listening to Husker Du? I know they're really important to you.
Yeah, so I can like remember the year and everything and like all that. It was 2000. It was 2003.
Oh wow! So that was in your 20s, wasn't it?
I mean, yeah, I was in my early 20s. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I mean, what I meant to say was when I was in my teens,
like teens or whatever, high school.
Yeah. Maybe I wouldn't have gotten it. Who fucking knows? You discover things when you discover them. But I discovered them in the Replacements because the same guy introduced them to me.
Don't you love that?
Yeah.
No. I have a dude that introduced me to American Steel and Murder City Devils, and so I always associate those two bands, even when they don't really go together necessarily. But I always think of them as like bands that kind of fit the same mold, and against me even. And they don't really sound sonically the same. But this dude Mike, shout out Mike from Bennigan's. Let's go Bennigan's waitstaff. Come on now.
Oh, Bennigan's.
Leather jackets and 80s Buicks. Let's go. Cassette tapes and everything. Train hopping girls named Jamie that peed herself. Let's do it. Come on now. That's a story for another time. Okay, so this will be a fun conversation. So I have this little spiel. All right, I'm gonna read a couple things real fast, and we're gonna talk about Dillinger 4, and then we'll move over to Husker Du in a few minutes, and you can tell me all about this band and why it's so important to you. All right, man. So the summer of 2020, we got Dillinger 4. They put out their sophomore album called Versus God, right? It came out, like I said, June 20, 2000. Sorry, 25 years ago. Yeah. It's 13 songs, 31 minutes. Coincidentally, I love that number. It's their sophomore album, like I said, released on Hopeless Records. I really enjoy that they have 2 vocalists. It keeps it from getting very boring. They
actually have 3 vocalists.
Oh, they have 3 vocalists? Well, yeah. That, sir, is just a step too far. Never mind. I hate it.
Sometimes I got confused about whether it was the bassist or the guitar player.
I definitely didn't realize there was 3
low voices, or deep kind of voices, gruff voices. I know when Eric is singing because he's got the nasally more kind of.
Okay, so yeah, that's the one I could pick out. I didn't realize there was 2 other.
Yeah.
So Dillinger 4 really blurred the lines between like straight up punk rock, hardcore, and then like that orgcore stuff everybody talks about. It really fits nicely within a mix of like Hot Water Music, Lawrence Arms, American Steel, Off With Their Heads. But you could put this band with a hardcore band and it would fit okay, I think. I think it could do a nice tour. And then with this particular record, the flow of it is really easy to get lost in. It's a really good example of an album that needs to be listened to in its entirety from front to back. It's more of like a piece of art versus little individual pieces that you can just kind of pull out and listen to whatever you want. You can put songs in mixtapes and playlists. It's just fine. But I listened to it a whole bunch over the last week because I kept forgetting to do it. So I'd listen to it. I'd start doing it again a day later and be like, oh, yeah, I already listened to it. Well, it's only 30 minutes. I'll listen to it again. So I listened to it a few times, and it's a good record, like front to back. And
I wanted to add a little caveat to that.
Well, here I got one more thing, and then I want to hear your thoughts on it. So,
Okay, of course, yeah.
with this record, there's a production style that I'm very fond of with
Mhm.
records like this. You can hear
Yeah,
everything that's being done, everything that's being said, but it's not overly produced, and it's an album that sounds really good on any kind of format,
yeah,
at any volume level, and that's really a unique thing. A lot of records don't sound good on CD, or they sound better on vinyl. They don't sound good in a car, but they sound good at your house. I've
yeah.
heard this record a lot. It's never sounded bad. It's always sounded really good. I think it's part of the mix is the reason for that. So that's kind of my initial thoughts on the record. So yes, what do you got to say about Dillinger Four versus God?
D4. I mean, I first discovered that band in 1998. My buddy, uh, my buddy, I was in my first band ever with, Sim. He was like, "Hey man, you got to check this band out," and he got me turned on to Midwestern Songs for the Americas, their first record.
Good record.
And I've never heard a more clever fucking punk album in my life. Those guys' lyrics can stand alone as like a book. They're some of the most hilarious writers I've ever seen or experienced. And just the names of their songs are just so fucking ridiculous and witty. They're extremely witty. And like, I think a lot of the orcore stuff that you were talking about came as a result of them. They were like the people that created that genre essentially. So all these bands kind of followed suit after them essentially. They're just a
Yeah,
pop.
there's a handful of them. I would say like American Steel was back in the '90s, Hot Water Music was back in the '90s,
That's,
Dillinger Four, and they all kind of fit in the same mold, I think.
yeah,
But they all have their own unique things as well, like very much. And you're absolutely correct with their lyric writing; it's very witty. And I was reading something on them the other day, it might have been today even, and they were compared to that band, the Monkees, because they were just like
interesting.
trying to disrupt the music scene. They were trying to
Yeah,
disrupt like corporate music, and they thought it was ridiculous, and they were just being disruptive. And I thought, dude, what a. And the guy was like, I'm saying this as a compliment to both bands. It's not a diss on anybody. And I thought that was really interesting because the Monkees were that. They were like making fun of the Beatles essentially, and they were like, this is so ridiculous, we can do it. And so they did it. And it's like, I may have a little bit of that wrong, but yeah, I remember the Monkees. They were basically a joke. They were a caricature of the Beatles, and they got very famous. They had a show on TV. I mean,
yeah, that's
but
right.
yeah, dude, Dillinger Four is a really good band. I I don't know, man. I really enjoy this album quite a bit.
It's a great record.
Yeah, man. They have so they have a few songs that I really love on this record.
Sorry.
Sorry, I'm gonna wait for the dog to stop barking. We good. All right. So there's a few songs on this record that are really good that kind of stand out on their own, even within an album that needs to be heard in its entirety. And you've got Define Learning Disorder, which like sonically is not my favorite song on the album, but it's probably my favorite lyrics on the record.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
really enjoy those lyrics. I don't even enjoy it. I appreciate them.
yeah, definitely.
Uh, and then you have Maximum Piss and Vinegar, which is the easy choice, of course. Shiny
Great
Things
stuff.
is good.
Yep.
Jay Harris and Let Them Eat Thomas Paine. Those are my favorite tracks on the record as far as like which ones I put on my personal playlist. I think
Yeah.
the whole record made it to the Punk Rock Review playlist. Go on Spotify if anybody's interested. Uh, on Spotify, I have a Punk Rock Review playlist, and you can go check it out. It's like 2,000 songs strong almost. It's a very long, deep playlist that you can get kind of dig into. And honestly, every week on the stream now, I'm like adding new songs to the playlist, which reminds me I got to do that for yesterday's stream. So,
Oh yeah.
uh, what songs are some of your favorites off this album?
Um, how many punks does it take to screw in a light bulb?
I knew you were gonna say that one. I knew it.
That's one of my favorites on that record. Shiny Things is good. Jay Harris, of course. Get Your Study Hall Out of My Recess. Again, dude, these song titles, man, like
No, like for real.
There's a lot of bands that I think like try to copy D4 and just they're not as funny, they're not as smart,
But that's where they stand out on their own, kind of. Is that
Huh?
that's where they stand on their own? Is that they're like
Yeah.
not only it's like they're almost like what's the word, man? Like that, like the kid in school is kind of a cynic who's like kind of smart. They're witty, but they're kind of like in the corner, like fuck you, but they're really kind of funny and smart. That's what
Yeah.
this band feels like to me. Like they're always
Oh,
grumpy about some shit. They don't seem like anything. Like they don't look at things glass half full at all. They're glass half empty kind of guys, and that's not always a bad thing. I mean, we need all of it. You can't,
right.
glass half full people would get awfully boring, and that's all that existed. So
Totally. I got to, and during my more formative years and getting into punk rock when I was 16, like their lyrics really kind of helped me, find my worldviews too a little bit. You know what I mean? Like they were one of the bands to me. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, this is a good example of a band that I didn't find until I've only been listening to this band for like maybe 5 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. Later.
Yeah. When I was younger, man, it was very much, I'll say 5 years is probably not really accurate. It's probably been over 10, but like real strong for like 5 or 6. Like I knew about them 10, 12, 13, 14 years ago, but like 5, 6, 7 years ago was when I really started like buying albums, listening to them in its entirety, not on just mixes and playlists and stuff. So I guess it's like a twofold thing. I knew about them a while back, heard them, could have cited an album title or whatever, but now I would like see them in shows, own albums. So there's been a like progression there. But like in high school, I didn't know about them. Back then, I really was listening to spiky haired street punk stuff. Like that's all I really cared about. Swinging Utters, US Bombs, The Unseen, Global Threat, Casualties. But like as I get older, I like this a little more somber, toned down rock and roll style punk rock that also is heavy and fast, but it's a little less. I don't know, man. It's a little more low end to it, if that makes any sense. Not so. It's a little more, still just as angry, but a little less.
The Dillinger Four is heavy on the bass, really bass heavy band.
Yes, yeah, they're good. Their bass tone's solid, man. They're a good band, and I don't know enough about them to sit here and cite like lyrics and stuff like that really off the top of my head. When I hear some stuff, some of it I can sing along to, some of it I can't. But I really enjoy the band. I think it's worth celebrating. 25 years is a long time.
They're super catchy.
They are very catchy. It wouldn't take long before you could remember a whole record, I would think.
Yeah, they're like one of the OG Fest bands. They've been around since like Fest 1.
Yeah, well, that's Hot Water Music is another reason why. That's why I cited them too, is because that band, American Steel, those bands have all been into that scene, man. That's been their jam.
They've all been on tour together. D4 Hot Water Music have been touring since like the 90s together.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me even a little bit.
Like, just there's like a Florida connection. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because the fest before now, it's all corporate sponsors like Pabst beer.
Right.
There's hundreds of bands there, and there's a lot of money in it. But like when the first fest was maybe around 2000, and I don't know, 01. And there was no money. It was just fucking all the bands on that label, Hot Water Music.
I remember when that started happening, people in Texas were like, dude, what?
We
were trying to get down there if we had any money. Some of us couldn't, but some of us could.
You're a lot closer than I am. So it's probably easier for some of us.
Well, I mean, not really. I mean, Texas may as well be California, bro, when you're poor. I mean, you know how that is.
That's true. Good places,
Florida is so fucking far, at least to me. You know that. Did you ever see that tour called the Revival Tour? And it had like Chuck Reagan and Ben Nichols and
no.
Okay, so there's a group called Saw Wheel out of Austin, I think is where they're from, and then Chuck Reagan, Ben Nichols, and I was hanging out with those guys, and we were talking about like punk bands that we liked, and there was a band called Nothington that I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
And through Nothington is how I got into Dillinger Four, because somebody was telling me like, yeah, those dudes love Dillinger Four, and I was like, Dillinger what? And I was like, wait, there's another Dillinger band, and I was like kind of joking around. The guy was like, oh yeah, do you like Dillinger Escape Plan? And I was like, ugh. And he was like, yeah, well, this is like the polar opposite of that.
Different Dillinger.
yeah. And I was like, oh, that's how I heard about them, and that's how I like started listening to them. And I don't know how fast I took to it, but I remember liking it. And that was probably, oh man, hold on, I can find out, because the Revival Tour was like, it turned into a big thing. And that was when I got to hang out with Laura Jane Grace before she was Laura Jane Grace, and hung out getting our hair cut together in the middle of a venue, dude. Like just sitting in a dirty ass shitty venue floor. There was barbers in there cutting hair, and I was just happened to be early, and they're like, "Want a haircut?" I was like, "Yeah." Sat down and got my haircut. It was crazy, bro. I was hanging out, and Ben Nichols got my hat, bastard.
That's cool. That's really dope.
Yeah, it was awesome, dude. Let's see. I don't know when that happened, but it was like probably like mid to late 2000s, because I got with my wife in like 2012, 2011. So before I knew her, yeah, probably like 2010, 97, somewhere in that neighborhood. So that's about when I got a hold of this band's music.
Yeah.
Do you have an album that you like out of their discography, like that's your favorite?
Yeah, their first one.
Okay.
Most Renaissance for the Americas. That's my favorite D4 record. I mean, I think just front to back. I mean, you got to give that one a listen next. I mean,
no. I own their records. I like that record too. My only issue is that it takes me forever to remember song titles and lyrics because I have such a terrible short-term memory from a head injury. And like, so like I'll listen to an album 30 times and still only know like 5% of the words. But but when I hear the melody is what I remember. I can be like, oh, I know this song, and it's like this. I can the lyrics, bro. It takes me a while, man.
I mean, they've been a band since like 93 or 94, but I don't think they're really.
That's been an incredibly long time.
Yeah, I don't think they put out a record until
96 or 7, I think is what I saw.
No, there was one before that, but it's not on any label. I think it's just like a collection of 7 inches and stuff.
Okay, but that's cool though. That's dope. I wouldn't mind getting my hands on some of them old 7 inches.
Yeah.
You see, I did a Grail video of stuff I was looking for.
I did actually. I was watching it earlier today.
Oh, nice. Thank you. Yeah, man. There's a handful of things I'm looking for, but not a lot. I don't really buy for myself that much anymore. I did get here's another band I really like that sort of fits in the same category as Dillinger Four, but you could go either direction with it. Is Bombshell Rocks. And I got a test press off of Lars Frederiksen, dude. I was like, let's go.
What do you mean off of Lars Frederiksen? Does he do
I bought a Bombshell Rocks test press from him.
Does he have like where does he sell his stuff?
Oh man, I don't know why I'm talking to you like you know what I'm talking about. Sorry. No, he's got a thing called Lars's Locker. It's called Laz's Locker, and it's where he sells stuff on eBay and whatnot. But he started it on Instagram, and I've got like DMs from me and him that go back to like 2020, dude, like before COVID, because I was buying stuff from my comic book shop from him. Like I've been buying stuff from that guy for years. Yeah.
Been a patron of Lars.
I'm hoping that I can be like, yo, dude, hey, I'm not trying to like be weird, but like any chance you got 30 minutes we could talk about wrestling or something on my podcast? He might be receptive, you know. I'm in the process of trying to get Fat Mike too, so we'll see.
Oh shit. That'd be crazy.
Yeah, dude, I mean it's possible. I got a hold of the lady that does all the Fat Record stuff, so
is that Aaron? Right, his wife?
No, it's another lady named Vanessa.
Okay, got it.
But she's super cool. I've been dealing with her for a while too. I showed you these, didn't I?
You did, man.
Man, this is crazy, bro. It's so weird, man, having it like in my hands. It's so strange.
The bullshit. You sold out of the first pressing, didn't you?
Just about. I got about 20 copies left.
Oh hell yeah, those are gonna
go. They're moving quick. I have a stash that I kept for myself. Like I think it's like 5 copies, but like other than that, yeah, they're about gone. Of the split, the solo one, because you know. The split, I had to do it with 2 bands, and then they also bought a bunch of wholesale copies from me for their tour, which I wasn't going to say no to that. And so it sold faster than the solo 7-inch did, but dude, they're equally as good as far as quality of music.
Oh yeah, dope.
So okay, that was a short talk because I think it needed to be. There wasn't a whole lot else to say about that record. I just wanted to celebrate it, talk about it for a minute. Anybody that's a fan of Dillinger Four, let me know what your favorite songs are by that band. Let me know your favorite record. Other bands that they've influenced that maybe I'll like. There's all kinds of things you could let me know. I like to soak it in, and I'm not always receptive at first, so just be patient. Sometimes I gotta give it. Hey, look, there's a lot of value in knowing what kind of pain in the ass you are. And sometimes I'm like, no, I don't want to do that because I didn't think of it or whatever the dumb reason is. I'll come around. I promise. Just
my first answer is usually no to most things.
Yeah, it's so stupid, bro.
It's just because I'm kind of a contrarian that way. It doesn't piss my girlfriend off, but you know, I'm just like.
Oh, I thought you were talking about me. I was agreeing because yeah. So both of us do that. Yeah, I don't know. It's so dumb, bro. I don't know why I do it, but I've been there my whole life, man. Hey, you want to try some mustard on a sandwich? Oh, I hate mustard. And 2 weeks later, man, I'm like, oh, I love mustard on my sandwiches. My friends are like, yeah, you're a dick, bro. I'm like, you know, sometimes.
At least you come around to mustard, man. You know.
Facts. I had some mustard today. I got some good low carb bread. It's so good, bro. I finally found a good bread I can eat, man. 30 calories a slice. I was like, let's go. I got some goals, bro. I killed it today. I'm like 350 calorie deficit.
Dude. Oh, you're trying to be in a calorie deficit.
Oh, right? Bro, dude. I got like a whole meal still allowed after this podcast, and I'm still going to be at a 350 calorie deficit. And I don't eat from 12 to 12. I do a 12-hour.
I would be so hungry all the time. But
Nah, bro. It's if you figure out the foods you can eat, it's chill, bro. Like
yeah,
that's it. That's all it is I had to figure out stuff I can eat. Like I don't eat candy anymore. I don't eat chips anymore. I don't eat out the fast food anymore. I can have McDonald's chicken nuggets because they're low calories. I can have Chick-fil-A, obviously. I can have that. Mostly it's chicken, and it's really avoid the bread, avoid sugary sodas. If you can
yeah.
avoid bread, avoid sugary sodas, you can kind of eat some stuff whenever you want, man. Like Chipotle, go there, get a bowl. Don't get a tortilla with it. Just get the bowl. You'll be fine.
Low carb. Yeah, no.
Yeah. It's just way less calories. There's so many calories in these tortillas and bread and stuff. So
Yeah.
but all right, man. Let's hey, dude, it's all right. This is an interesting conversation. People, dude, I think you would be surprised at the shit people like to hear about just on a podcast. I listen to the most ridiculous shit that people talk about, and I
Right.
don't even know why I do it. But
No, it's people can hopefully relate. You know, if you're in here listening to us talk about Husker doing Dillinger 4, you're probably over the age of 40.
you
And,
know what I'm saying? That's a good point.
And you probably want to lose some weight.
Valid points.
Or you're looking for better health, quality of life.
Right. I find it cool whenever you're willing to like pull back the curtain a little bit and show people like, hey man, I'm not trying to act like I'm somebody I'm not. I'm just a dude.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of value in that. And it's one of the reasons I started doing my shop videos. You know what I'm saying? Because I thought, well, if I do that and I let them see what I'm doing in my store, people will be able to trust me without having to really think about it because I'm showing them what I'm doing. And if I can do that, that'll just serve me well. You know,
totally.
the one thing I don't want anybody to ever say is like, hey, I don't think that guy is a trustworthy guy. His character is in question. That would crush me. So I just don't let that be a thing. Tomorrow I'm having lunch with my buddy Jason. He's playing guitar and verbal abuse, and we're gonna go talk some business, bro. I can't wait to tell you what we talk about. It's gonna be rad, dude.
That man plays around here all the time.
Yeah, I got some rad shit fixing to happen, dude. That I can't really talk about. It's nothing to do with them either, just other stuff. But like, yeah, cool. Let's talk about Husker Du because this is your turn to talk. I'm gonna finally shut up for a minute. All right, so January 14th, 1985, we were.
Sorry.
January 14th, 1985, we got Husker Du, New Day Rising, 15 songs, 41 minutes. It's their third record, and it was released through SST Records.
That's right.
I'm going to stop there and let you start talking about this record. I'll have some things to say in a few minutes. What's up, dude? Tell me about this album, man.
What is there to say about this band? Fuck. I mean, they're my favorite band. You know,
Are they really your favorite band ever, huh?
Yeah, they are. I mean, I love a lot of bands. Like, don't get me wrong, but I would have to say, as far as impact and like kind of their importance to me personally, and I think on rock music in general, I think they're kind of like the under kind of sung heroes of like they like set the template for like a lot of American music. You know.
Please explain that to me. I want to know what you mean by that. Like, give me some examples of how. Because I'm not. Because we're about to start arguing in a minute. I know it. So let's just go ahead and try to do it
peacefully. They were an extremely important band because of kind of they were one of the first punk kind of pop bands to be signed to a major label. So back then, they were considered, I guess you can say, indie rock, right? Because the only stations that would play them were like college radio stations. So the college radio crowd was not the people that were tuning into like the FM radio, right? You know, like they're just regular, stations. So
right.
They set the blueprint for what they call alternative rock music.
Okay, so sorry.
So like Sonic Youth, the Pixies, Nirvana, all that shit happened, arguably because Husker Du kind of like came onto the scene and like allowed it to. In a way.
Okay, good. That I'm really glad that you said that because that'll validate like something that I was going to say. I was going to say that I think that they have more to do with grunge music and just like alternative rock than they do anything punk. This is just from my perspective, and people can tell me I'm wrong. It's okay. I don't really care. This is just how I look at it. Because they don't sound like a punk band to me at all. Again, I'm still fairly new to them, right? I understand that, but dude, I don't hear anything that sounds punk to me with this music. That doesn't mean that I'm right. It just means that that's what I'm hearing. I'm going, huh? So I listened to this record 3 times this week, dude, because I was like, all right, man. The first time I listened to it, I literally, dude, was sitting here just like doing this. I was like, oh, I could barely get through it. I was like, oh my god, this is so bad.
It's sonically really hard to listen to.
Oh, it's the worst shit,
Noisy.
dude. It's yeah, and like, well, okay,
it's extremely noisy.
What's something I wrote down is I put the difference in sounds on this album. Use songs 2 and 3 as an example. I can't remember the title of the songs. They're so extreme that it makes the album hard to listen to for me specifically. I couldn't find a flow to get into, and it really bothered me, as I definitely wanted to like this record. It's the opposite of the D4 album for me, in that you would almost want to take each individual song on its own to critique. Also, what's up with the third song on this? I cannot stand the lyrics. The sentiment I get, but the repetition is bad, and it makes it come off super corny. Like, and like
I apologize.
As I'm writing this down, I'm like shaking my head, going, "Dude, people are going to roast me in the comments," and that's fine. I don't really give a shit.
Doesn't matter.
I just want to understand what it is people like about this album, because I don't get it, or this band even, because I've listened to a number of songs before we did this record, and I'm going to continue to do these records from this band because it's important to me to at least understand it. I don't have to like it, but you love it so much, and we've become such good friends that my thought process is like, I need to at least understand this because I respect your opinion. So it's like, shit. So again, I'll stop talking for a minute. Please tell me some stuff.
I totally get your sentiment. They're not an easy band to get into, particularly because the production quality on this record, people either love it or they hate it.
I actually didn't have a problem with the production quality. I had a problem with the songwriting, I think. But you know what? I might even have that messed up, actually. I don't know. I need to do a little more research.
Because like, I think that the thing with Husker Du is like they hit the scene in 1978. Okay. They had 3 records, and then this one came out, right? So it's like their first record, Land Speed record, is a blistering hardcore record. It's fucking fast and just chaotic and frenetic, and it's live. And
I'll have to listen to that one.
It's completely different. All their records, as they evolve as a band, by the time like 1986 comes around and they signed to Warner Brothers Records, it's polished and clean pop.
Yeah.
They completely, like, all that chaos and all that noise is gone.
Weird,
and they're a different band. And then they break out finally in 87 because of internal conflict within the band. But like, you know, they started as a punk band, and they embody kind of that raw, visceral quality of hardcore and American, like hard-hitting raw punk, you know, with that power. With this pop, it's laced with pop sensibility though. It's just like hooks and pop all up in it, dude. It's like,
so I knew you were going to say that, because you said that to me before. I'm just not hearing it. So whenever we have time, maybe when you're listening to it at some point, if you hear a song and you have the thought to do so, could you go, hey man, listen to this track. This is what I'm talking about. So I can kind of, because I didn't hear things that I would consider like pop at all. Like dude, again, not an authority. This is just my. Well, man, I don't want people to think that I'm sitting here going, "Oh, this is that or this is that." I'm just saying, in my opinion, I don't understand how this can be considered something like that. Now, their first album I know is much faster. Sorry.
How things hit you is the way you perceive them, right? Like, you know, you have your ears in your brain, so when it comes into your head, you're gonna be like, "Oh, this is what I get from it." But for me, I hear like a wall of sound, like the guitar just like.
Okay, I can agree with that.
Just like fucking sawing, buzzsaw kind of guitar. The drums are pummeling and just kind of like, you know, kind of frenetic. And to me, the rhythm section is incredible. Like, they're really good. That drummer specifically to me is a big influence. Right?
Yeah.
I really like the way he plays. I like the tempos. I like the rhythms and the grooves. But their songs have hooks. A lot of hooks, man. It's like that entire album's full.
Maybe I just don't like the hooks. Might be what it is. Versus like I didn't hear them, because it's also very contradictory to say like, oh man, it's this wall of sound, this buzzsaw guitar, and these really crazy drums, but it's not all this poppiness. And I'm like, I can't put that together. Like, this puzzle's not fitting to me.
That's the thing with the band, though. That's what makes them them. You see, like,
no, for sure. That's also accurate.
That contradiction in that, like, cognitive, I guess the word is I'm looking for
if I ever have the time, I'm gonna do cognizant dissonance.
Cognitive dissonance. Sorry.
Cognitive dissonance. Sorry.
Cognitive dissonance. Yeah, it's like it shouldn't make sense, right? It's like on the one hand, they're an extremely hardcore, and the songs vary quite a bit. And there's two vocalists in the band, the drummer and the guitar player. The guitar player tends to be a little more anguished and kind of like rough around the edges. Like from the first track of the album, New Day Rising, he just fucking hits you with the like drums and just says it over and over and over again. New Day Rising, New Day Rising, New Day Rising, until the very end where he just is fucking letting it go. So it's like, it's all over the fucking place. And then the next song, it's the drummer singing, and it's more of a pop song. You know, the girl who lives on Heaven's Hill. You know?
Yeah, like, I feel like, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I'm saying, I mean, those are hooks. Like, these are like the melodies, like, of the songs, right? Like, they're catchy, they're melodic, but they're noisy.
I mean, we're okay, are you talking about the second song then?
Yeah.
Okay, because the first song, I don't feel like has that. So, I'm trying to follow along your little, like journey here, and I'm doing an okay job. It's like, it almost makes me wish I hadn't ever discovered that I like the Clash, because it's making me want to like bands that I don't actually like, and it's driving me nuts because I don't care about bands like the Damned. It's not that I dislike them actively, I just don't care about them.
Yeah.
And so like, it's making me want to like bands that I don't really have a lot of interest in, and it's driving me nuts. And this is a good example of that, because I genuinely would like to have this click for me so that I can enjoy it the way my friends do. But
you might not like it, man.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just how it is. You know what I'm saying? But like, it's like you don't have to like Husker Du, but like,
right. Well, that's not according to some of these guys out there. I guarantee you, I'm gonna hear that in the comments. Well, if you don't like Husker Du, you shouldn't be doing a punk rock channel. You don't know what you're talking about if you don't like Husker Du. And blah, 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 blah. I'm a big dumbass. That's what those people sound like to me.
This isn't even my favorite album of theirs, but it ranks highly on my list of records I enjoy. I like some songs more than others, but by the time you get to the end of the record, it becomes like a noise rock record at parts.
It's exhausting to me, and that might be part of it too. Is that I have sensitive ears. Like I hear, like I've had some ear issues in my life, and just nothing extreme, but really noisy stuff. I've never been super interested in. But I find it funny that I love the band 59 Times the Pain though.
Yeah, and they got their name from that song, right? So they're probably big fans. But
what if it came out that they were like not even aware of Husker Du?
I would be extremely but that song I think is probably one of the hardest songs to listen to on the record. I
agree. I listened to it and was like, oh, I was hoping I was going to really like it because of the band, and I was like,
I love the noisiness. I like the way Bob Mould plays guitar. He's a fucking weirdo, and I like those sounds, and I just like the chaotic kind of energy of that record a lot, and that band. You know what I mean?
There's a lot of chaotic energy. You're not wrong about that. I can't even. There's so many things that are objectively true about this record that you're saying. So I don't have like I can't go. No, all I can be is like, yeah, it's not for me. So I think that's pretty good though. I like that.
There's no other band like them. But if you care to, right, and just to kind of get like a better idea and just kind of be like, okay, so this is what this band is. Check out their early stuff and then listen to their last record. There's a huge difference between the two.
Right? Oh, dude, that happens a lot with a lot of bands.
So they get signed to a major label, and obviously like the same person from SST that was producing them isn't doing it. That guy's Spot. He's considered a bad engineer, honestly.
Really?
And he's the guy that did the record. But
I mean,
I think there's a certain charm in kind of his maybe unintentionally bad production.
Well, some people capture this like unique piece of art in whatever their craft is, but it's like technically or objectively wrong. But there's still some charm to it, and I think there is a place for that. Now, where is that place, and how big of a place does it take? That's to be determined. But there is a place for that, and whether I like this album or this band or not is kind of irrelevant when we're just trying to celebrate the album a lot. And I know you are a big fan, so I wanted to talk about it for that reason. Another reason to do shows like this is to force myself out of my comfort zone. Let me go listen to an album that I'm already pretty sure I may not like, but let me sit down with an open mind and go, all right. Because there was a song that I actually liked enough to put on my personal playlist. It
Really?
was The Girl Who Lives on Heaven Hill.
Second song on the record. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a fan. A lot of people
You
like
know what? You're right. That one did have a nice hook to it, actually, now that I'm thinking in
Yeah.
retrospect to what you were saying a minute ago. But that song I enjoyed quite a bit. I put it on my personal playlist. And it takes a lot for me to put a song on there because I don't want to go sifting through songs I don't really care about when I'm trying to drive or
Totally.
something. And,
They were
you
a
know,
big influence on Green Day, for instance. Like,
I can see that.
they really influenced that band a lot, actually. And
I feel like lyrically they influenced them a lot.
yeah, and the music too. If you listen to Celebrated Summer, that's the sixth song on the album, it's a pop punk song, dude. It's more or less a fucking pop punk song. And just the guitar parts really were adopted by a lot of the East Bay kind of punk bands, and they had a big impact on a lot of pop punk.
Celebrated Summer. I don't have that one marked up, but I'll check it out again when we get off of here.
Yeah.
I did put a few of them in the punk rock review playlist. Are you interested to see which ones it was?
Yeah, tell me.
I put on the first two tracks, so New Day Rising, the title track, and then the one I liked a lot. I also put Folklore in. I put
Interesting.
Terms of Psychic Warfare.
Wow. Okay, you like that song. Interesting.
I liked it enough to put it on the playlist for other people to enjoy as well. And Powerline, and then I Don't Know What You're Talking About also
Okay.
made it on the punk rock review playlist.
I mean, I love the whole record, but I
Yeah.
think it's great that you put those songs on that playlist because maybe people
Dude, I like to think that I have enough. I don't know what it's called, but that I'm able to listen to something and go, okay, there's something positive to be taken out of almost every piece of art. Even in a movie that I absolutely hate, I can always find something to critique positively. And with an album like this, I don't really like it as a whole piece of art, but there's parts and pieces that I enjoyed. And so I was determined to find at least 3 songs to put on there. And the fact that I got 6, I thought was pretty good.
Yeah, and what you've told me about what you appreciate sonically and stuff like this goes against everything that you've
Right. Yeah. It really does. So if anybody's surprised that I don't like this, then they're
You can
probably
hardly
new to
hear
the
what the guy's
channel.
fucking saying. The guitar is barely fucking, I don't know.
Yeah, I like a crisp, clean.
This is anything but that. It's completely it's a messy, noisy fucking recording. But again, all that mess is a sheen
It's
of
their
and
third album.
Third record, yeah.
Damn, that's crazy, man.
Yeah, third record.
1980, third record in already. That's nuts. What's your favorite album by theirs? By them?
I really like Zen Arcade, the one that came before this record. It was a concept album.
You would like a concept album,
dude. It's incredible. I mean, it's noisy. It's hardcore punk. Like it's a proper punk record with a lot of crazy fast songs. But
I'm gonna question that because you've called this band a punk band a bunch of times, and I haven't. Man, I just don't agree.
Listen to they're a hardcore band, man. Like straight up.
Oh, no, okay. Look, they were a hardcore band. Doesn't equate to they are a hardcore band.
Listen to Zen Arcade. From the first 2 songs are straight up American hardcore songs, man.
And that's cool. I'm gonna listen to it, and you might very well be right. My point still stands, though. Like you can have an album that's really, really like it's like if you had. Okay, so if they had 6 ska songs on one of their albums and it kind of made it a ska album, would you then call them a ska band? Because I wouldn't.
Okay, it's a potato situation. I mean,
it's not.
They're on a punk label. They play punk music. They're a fucking punk band.
Well,
dude.
They're on a punk label. They might be punk in ethos people, but they're sonically doesn't sound like punk rock. Is my point. Especially their later material, especially with this album.
Later, they were not a punk band.
Yes. So well, that's what I'm saying. So like were and are very different. So, but like even up to this third album, I heard like a little bit of stuff that I could consider punk, but it was all grunge. Like, and there's a blurry line there. I understand that. Like,
grunge. It's not grunge. It doesn't sound anything like Nirvana or anything like that shit.
You don't have to sound just like Nirvana to be grunge. But it'd be like saying you have to sound just like Minor Threat to be a hardcore band. That's ridiculous.
I'm curious.
I mean, it's probably the best way to sound, but
do people think that Husker Du is a punk band? Like,
I'm sure people do, but I'm sure other people could say that they don't. I'm probably on the very small side of that argument, though. I would imagine.
You know what's funny about that band in particular? It's split. So there's a lot of people that aren't punks, right? And they like their later material because it's not punk quite a bit.
Yeah.
And then there's people like me that are punk and like their earlier shit. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
actually a good point, and it's a valid point because I can't even tell you the number of people that are like aging punkers tell me, "Hey, go listen to Husker Du, but just listen to the early stuff." Like I've heard that a number of
Oh,
times.
really? That's funny.
Yeah,
I'm sure
yeah.
your friends tell you to listen to them
Do
in
what?
Texas. Like some of your friends in Texas probably like them.
Some. I don't. Okay, this is gonna sound super dumb, but I don't really hang out with people that listen to Husker Du, man. Like it's just not my that's not my crowd.
Damn, dude.
It's just not my crowd, bro. Like I'm sure I've got some friends. You know who I bet likes them that I may be wrong, but I feel like it wouldn't surprise me if Richard from Bullshit Detector liked them because I feel like that's his kind of
You
like
probably would.
intellectual shit because he's a bright dude, and I wouldn't be surprised if I need to text him later and ask him. But
Your friend Chris Klink.
I was just gonna say I need to text Chris to see what he thinks.
He probably
You know
likes
what? I'm gonna see if he'll text me fast, and we can maybe get an answer to this before we get off of here. But look, man, is there stuff in their music that I like? Yeah, of course, man. They have some very odd choices, which I think some people find charming and I find annoying. But that's because I understand that I'm more of like a grinchy, curmudgeony type sometimes. I get that, and I just
it.
accept it.
The beauty of them is that they didn't give a fuck. They did it anyway,
Nor
right?
should they.
Yeah, so they just like there was no money. Like no one wanted what they were doing. You see what I'm saying? That's to me the cool part about it.
That
Right?
should that's like the antithesis of like what you want to do. That's so fucking dumb.
Why is that
Oh
dumb?
man, nobody likes us. That's cool. No,
No,
man, now you're
dude,
broke, you
that's
dumbass.
not what I'm saying. That's not the takeaway here. I'm saying that they didn't try to make music to pander to anybody.
I know, I'm
That's
just
what I'm
giving you a
trying to
hard
say.
time. No, and I fully support that. Like,
You
if they
know.
were still doing weird, noisy, experimental rock and roll shit, uh, I would definitely tell them to keep making albums like this. I don't give a shit, man. I mean,
Right. Yeah.
look at black metal. I fucking hate black metal, but there's
Oh,
an
you do?
audience for it.
You're not a black metal fan? Yeah.
Oh, dude. Only thing
Sonic.
I like face paint. I like corpse paint. That's about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Corpse paint is cool because I'm into fashion punk stuff. If you can't tell,
You know, I was listening to Venom the other day, and I didn't realize like how
like
like kind of hardcore adjacent they are a little bit. Dude, have you heard Venom? Like their first record?
yes, I've heard Venom quite a bit.
It's like it's almost punk, dude. It's like vaguely like
Sounds
fucking
like
hardcore.
Motorhead ish.
Yeah, like that's what I mean. It's like
Yeah,
it's got that,
it's
kind of
more
like.
like it's closer to like D
Like
beat.
a,
I would
yeah,
say
it's
so.
like
Yeah, I guess
DB.
there's a. I always talk about D beat as like a punk rock subgenre, but I think it might also be a hardcore subgenre. D beat's got a lot of both in it.
DB's got a
But
lot of metallic influences.
yeah, I like D beat quite a bit. I want to go back and listen to some more Husker Du. So I would, if you have the time, if you could make me a list of songs, I don't care what number, it could be 5 or 25, just some songs you think I might dig. Because if I can find an entry point to this band and like find a little clump of songs that I like, I just think that's a better outcome, anyways, right? But it also could open other doors to me. I've figured out that I have to sometimes sneak into these bands, and that could be with any band.
I
It
mean,
literally was like two measures of a song in the Clash, and it just went click.
the thing
So
is
nothing would surprise me.
you surprise me though with what you kind of latch onto sometimes, you know. So it's hard for me to make a list because
Really? Do
I
you have an
don't
example of something that might have what you're talking about?
you know, like you'll be like, I really dug that song, you know, like or someone will request something on the pod.
Oh, it's yeah, my tastes are all
like,
over
I'll
the
be like,
place,
oh,
man.
this guy's a fucking idiot. Like, you know what? I really like that. I'm like, wow, okay, well, it's just there's no rhyme or reason to it. I'm just saying that your taste and why you gravitate towards certain things isn't always obvious to me. So,
Dude, it's not even obvious to me, man. What are we talking
right.
about? I don't know what the fuck I want, dude.
Oh,
My brain is so weird, like, because I
yeah,
have very, dude. There'll be two bands or two songs or two movies or whatever that most people are gonna go, yeah, those go hand in hand, and I think they're basically the same thing. And I'm gonna go, yeah, this one's good and this one sucks. And people are like, how? If you like this, how do you not like this? I don't even know how to explain that other than I like one thing and I don't like the other. It's like eating grapes. Maybe you like a green grape, maybe like a red grapes. Most people like both. Well, I don't. I like red grapes. I don't like green grapes. Like it's just is what it is. They're both fucking grapes. They're very similar, but
it's just an analogy.
it's just, and I don't understand why my brain works
I
this
hate
way.
green, okay? I hate fucking green.
I And just to be very clear, I like green grapes. I was just making an
Yeah,
example
yeah.
out of that. But like,
They taste the same, don't they? Like I don't know.
no, green
Okay,
grapes have a much more tart flavor. Red ones are
okay,
way sweeter.
understood. Okay.
But I like them all, especially a sweet green grape is like kind of hard to find sometimes when they'd be really ripe.
I don't
But
like the grape whenever that's added. I'm not a fucking.
wait, you have grapes with seeds in them?
Sometimes I mean they're not common. Most grapes are
What?
seedless.
Yeah,
Yeah,
most grapes are seedless.
GMO
But
baby.
yeah, so what other stuff has Husker Du done? Do they have side projects that I might know about? I know Bob Mould does stuff on his own.
Bob Mould, yeah, he's doing stuff. So Bob Mould was openly gay all throughout his career in Husker Du. Grant Hart was bisexual. It was rumored that they had some shit going on, right?
Let's go.
Maybe I don't know any details about that. But toward the end of their career, and there's a lot of drugs. Like Husker Du was very like in the very beginning, a lot of amphetamines and
Oh, really?
psychedelics, yeah, and shit like alcoholism. So Bob Mould got sober after Husker Du broke up in 1987, and he had a solo career, right, by himself, and he released a bunch of stuff that you may or may not like. Check it out. Black Sheets of Rain is one of his early albums. It's different. It's him. It's more somber. It's a lot of acoustic stuff.
I had a feeling.
It's like reflective. And he's a great songwriter. He's one of my favorite songwriters. So he writes great music, right? I mean, I don't like all of his records, but then later in the early '90s, he formed a power pop band called Sugar. And
I've heard of that band before.
yeah,
I
and
knew about that.
they've got some fucking great material too. And they were on a major label. I think they might have been on Sire or Warner Brothers too. But I'm a big fan of Sugar. Also, Grant Hart was in a band called Nova Mob for a while. That was on SST. I'm not too familiar with them. That's the drummer. The bassist didn't do shit. He went off and opened a restaurant and became a chef. And kind of
Good for him. Do
got
what you
out
want to
and
do.
stuff. You know what I mean? But yeah. And then Bob Mould now is just Bob Mould, band or whatever. So
I think if I have the time, and I'm very busy right now, but if I have the time, I want to do a video just called "The Contradiction of Husker Du," and I just want to talk about them for a few minutes, like whatever I learn just like whatever I learn about them, talk about it, and just talk about how, in my opinion, they're just one giant contradiction. And I'm not saying it in any disrespectful way, at least not intentionally, but just like, this is what I've learned about them. This is kind of their history as far as I understand it. As long as you're open and honest about like, hey, this is just like, from my perspective, this is what I know about them. People can't really get upset. They might still get upset, but it doesn't matter at that point.
yeah.
I like to look into stuff, and any way I can like sneak my way into this and enjoy this band, I want to, because they're objectively important. Like they just are.
Yeah, I mean they are, and I think they're hugely impactful. I think that they're a band that a lot of people see, like the name, but they don't get talked about a lot. They're not.
That's true.
They're not like a topic of conversation. They're just kind of glossed over a little bit, or people mention them briefly, but they're very important. In terms of their impact and like what they did for other bands and all that kind of thing. But I discovered them and the Replacements the same year, right? So both bands out of the same city, Minneapolis.
Oh, really?
And they had a rivalry too, like a friendly one,
Dude, I didn't know they were from Minneapolis.
Yeah, and yeah.
You know who else is from Minneapolis?
All the bands we're talking about tonight are from Minneapolis.
D4 is as well?
Yeah.
Shit, dude, you know who else is from Minneapolis?
Who?
Fucking Empire Down, dude.
Yeah, great band.
Yeah.
Great fucking band, dude.
I need to ask them what their opinion on these bands are, because I didn't realize they were all from that city. That's cool. The Replacements is another band that I never really got into, but I've heard some music and I know that I at least enjoyed it to a degree. I need to go do like a little deep dive on that band as well.
If you
Do they have any records hitting any kind of milestone right now?
Sorry?
Do they have any records that are hitting a milestone this year?
Oh God!
Here, I'll look it up while you were telling me what you're fixing to tell me before I rudely interrupted you.
If you like the Gaslight Anthem,
I love the Gaslight Anthem.
They were heavily influenced by the Replacements.
That might be why I know who they are. It might have been Chris that told me about them.
They're just really. They started out as like a snotty kind of punk band. You know what I mean? Like very like just
garagey too, right?
Yeah, garagey, rowdy.
Okay.
And then they developed into kind of like an Americana, just like rock band. with like pop sensibility, like
Oh, dude, they got a 40-year-old album too.
Of course they do, man. They've been around a long time.
We may have to do that one in a couple of weeks.
The
You down for
Replacements.
that?
Yeah, I'd love to talk about the Replacements. I love
Nice, nice.
It's a
It's
great
an
band.
album called Tim.
Yeah, 1985.
Yeah.
They got signed to a major before Husker Du did, actually.
Yeah.
A year before. Yeah, for that album, Tim specifically.
Okay, cool. I just found out about what's it called? Molly and the what was it called, dude? Oh shit, hold on. It's a band that when you said Gaslight Anthem, it reminded me of, let's see, what is it called? Yeah, Molly and the Zombies. It's another band that has Brian Fallon singing
Oh wow.
from
No
Gaslight
idea.
Anthem. Yeah, I love Brian Fallon's vocals. He's like, this is one of the things that drives me nuts, man. Bands like him he'll be inspired by people that I don't really care about, but he's like one of my favorite lyricists and vocalists of all time.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
drives me nuts, man.
Yeah, and then you're like, fuck, you like this is what influenced you,
Bro, it drives me insane, man.
Well, I mean, you kind of hear like glimpses of like where they got their sound from when you listen to these bands, though, right? Like,
yeah, I'll hear where they get influenced. Like, I'll use Rancid as a great example. For years and years, I didn't like the Clash, but it was really clear how they were influencing Rancid. But I always stood on the fact that, look, man, first doesn't always mean best, and influence doesn't mean you have to like what they're influenced by. So, like, it just aggravates me because I want to like all of it. I'm a fan of this stuff, and I'm a fan to like the smallest, microorganism in my body. Like every single part of me is a fan of this music, and I genuinely love it. And
yeah,
there's sincerity there. I fuck with this shit, and it just really sucks when there's an artist, a group, or album, whatever, that everybody kind of unanimously loves, and I just don't get it or like it or whatever. So
yeah.
it's
weird. If it makes you feel any better, Husker Du is not. Their fans ride pretty hard, but they're few and far between. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of us out there. You know what I mean?
I want to talk to some musicians that I'm a fan of that cite them as a big influence and ask them what it is they like, and then kind of like take notes and see what albums are influencing who. That would be something that would really, really, really interest me.
You'd be surprised. I think a lot of the bands that you like are influenced by this band.
Probably. But I like a lot of that orgcore stuff, so like probably.
Yeah, and that orgcore stuff, pays a lot of homage to this band too. Pretty intentionally. I mean, yeah, it's not an easy listen, man. I know. Like it's a noisy record. You got to sift through a lot of weird fucking chaos just to get to like a nugget of melody or make sense of anything that's happening in the music.
So, and I know we've been talking about it for 35 minutes, but can you explain to me in like 2 sentences?
Yeah.
You just said that it wasn't an easy listen and that it's like chaotic and noisy.
Yeah.
Is it that you just like that, or is there something else about it that you appreciate?
I like the wall of sound in general.
Okay.
I'm a fan of like, and it's like this lo-fi noisiness. It's not like harsh or piercing. So my ears.
That's also true though. It's not really harsh and piercing. It's just chaotic.
It's chaotic, but it's like this like low like wall of sound, like this.
So do you like white noise? Like, is that a sound that you appreciate? No, dude, I don't. No. I'm dead ass serious.
Like a baby trying to fall asleep. Yeah. White noise is great, dude. Like, yeah.
No, I mean, I have friends that like they have white noise on in the background so that they can do things and concentrate. And I'm not saying that you do that, but like, is that a noise that doesn't bother you? Because when I hear white noise, I have to 2 seconds, bro, I need it off.
I mean, I don't prefer to have it on in the back. I mean, I would rather.
I was just curious because I do feel like it's a very similar sound to a lot of the stuff I was getting out of this album.
To white noise. That's pretty apt. I don't know. I think it has a. I think that band in particular, maybe. I was introduced to them at a point in my life where I was like impressionable and like on enough drugs to like want something that wasn't just like standard punk rock, right?
I did have that thought.
It kind of scratched an itch for me. You know what I mean? It was like I love punk. Like I was into punk and like all that shit, but I just needed something a little different. And like I
Did that
got
itch happen to be on your prostate?
it, dude. I just put a finger in my butt and just fucking found it. It's still walnut size too. Hasn't
Oh,
changed.
geez, Louise, dude.
But you know what
Yeah,
I mean?
man.
It kind of it's different, you know. It's not like other music, and
I did have that thought when I was listening that, like, hey, if I was on some good narcotics,
yeah, it's like you can
this
tell
might make a little more sense to me.
it's very drug addled music. Like those guys, you can tell are fucked up. Like that record was written on a lot of speed, you know. Um,
There's weird melody changes. There's weird time changes. There's so much weirdness going on. I'm not a fucking sweater wearing art student, man. I'm not from San Francisco. I think that's what it is, bro. I'm just a regular ass person from Houston. I think if I was some fucking
you think it's
college
too
student, some fucking dude that I don't know. What's the dude from Weezer? Is he a big fan of this band?
probably,
Like,
but I
yeah.
don't even think it's that pretentious of a record. I think it's.
I
Just,
didn't say the word pretentious. You did.
well,
I said sweater wearing art student. Those are different. I'm saying like those people gravitate towards certain shit. That's all I meant. It's like there's a certain kind of person that gravitates towards more like artsy-ish like movies and sound. And I actually wasn't intending to say pretentious this time. Sometimes I will say that word, but that's not really what I meant. I just meant like a certain demographic more than anything.
sweater. I don't even have a sweater, dude.
Oh, I wasn't even talking about you, but now I am, you motherfucker.
I'm fucking with you, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna get you a
Give me a cardigan.
Cardigan is what I was thinking.
Glasses already. Might as well fucking seal the deal.
I have a cardigan.
Do you really?
Yeah, it's got a Rancid Life on White Skull embroidered on it too. It's fucking awesome.
Nice.
It's what I wear when I want to dress up fancy.
That's pretty much all I got for this.
Well, dude, that was a really great conversation, in my opinion. So,
good.
If you're a fan of Husker Du, what
about Husker Don't?
I almost said that, and I was like, "That's stupid," and then you said it. Okay, check this out. Before we go, I think you'll appreciate this. You're gonna laugh a little bit. So, it's also the 25th anniversary of Rancid 2000, my favorite fucking album of all time. What I've started doing is compiling a list of B-sides and demos from that era, and I'm going to do a video called Celebrating 25 Years of Rancid 5. And in that video, I'm going to critique it like I would any other album. I'm going to say the things I do and I do not like about it, and then I'm going to put together what I think would have been a classic release had they released it with X songs, whatever songs. I'm going to probably do about an EP's worth. Was it you that was talking to me about that when we were like way back when? That there was about an EP worth of good music on that record? Nah. Or is that somebody else? No. Do you like that album?
I don't
okay. Somebody, I can't remember who it was. Somebody was talking to me about it, and we got into a pretty long conversation, and we decided that there's about an EP's worth of good material within that recording session time period. And I'd stand on that. I think there's like a really, really, really good EP on there. And then somebody else told me that they thought that if they had taken that exact album, all the same songs, but just had the production of a different album, let's say Let's Go or their newest album, that it would sound like a better record. But a lot of it isn't the songwriting, it's the actual finished product that we got. And I think there's something to that.
It strikes me as a try-hard record.
No, it absolutely does. And I think the band would also agree with that.
I'm like, y'all, like, what are you trying to prove right now? You don't need to be a hardcore band. It's not you.
I'm absolutely flabbergasted by the amount of people that love that album.
There's, like I said, they're split. I mean, a lot of people love that record. It's like their favorite record. I'm just like,
it's I think it's all people that are like 10 years younger than me, I would think. People that came up and that was their first Rancid record. A lot of people say that about it. And I'm like, oh, okay, well then, I understand that. I don't agree that it's their best record, but I understand that point of view. But cool, man. Next time we talk, we're going to be talking about, what was it again? Oh yeah, a global threat until we die, and Alkaline Trio. Maybe I'll Catch Fire. 2 albums that go hand in hand sonically. They sound almost identical. I love those albums. If you're going to make a mixtape, you couldn't get a better. I mean,
they definitely don't sound identical.
No, not even a little bit.
Not even a little bit.
But yeah, dude. Any last words before we get out of here, sir?
Oh man, I had a great time tonight. It was a good conversation.
I'm shocked and I'm very proud of us, sir. We did not go at each other's throats.
I was going to say we didn't argue once. I mean, We almost did. Maybe we didn't.
Yeah, but we didn't agree on a lot of the Husker do stuff, but we didn't go at it with each other, which I think is a sign of like a lot of maturity and a lot of growth in our conversational skills with each other, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, man, I love it.
I'll be back with. Do you think next week will work or no?
Should, yeah.
Okay. If it doesn't, it doesn't, because next week I'm also hanging with Rob for an hour. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So if we don't do it next week, sometime in the next week or two, we'll do ours. But I'm down for whoever wants to do whenever. I'm never going to say no to a podcast. So.
Hell yeah, bro. Let's go, brother.
Let's do it, man. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. This episode was brought to you by 31 Records. I get to say that now. We have vinyl out now. If you want to check it out and support a small label and some really good independent bands, there's a link to my Bandcamp in the description. If you don't want to do that, or even if you just want to hear the songs, go check them out, man. Support them that way. You don't have to buy anything. You can just go listen to it. I would prefer if you go see them at a show anyway. So, yeah, until next time, we'll see you later at the next Punk Rock Review podcast. Peace.